Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. Hello again. If you're given a commission as a sculptor, the first thing you will need to do is to make a maquette. And that is a small version of what you are going to make or what you've been asked to make. And the idea of that is to make a maquette or a sketch in clay or plaster or wax using an additive medium like those three. And you do this and then you present it to the client, and then you both agree that this is what they want. And then if the client is not happy with anything, they can tell you and you can go back and make adjustments to the maquette and then bring it back and present it to them again. And then you do that until you're both happy with what is being made. The commission I was given was to make a copy of a horse's head, and the horse breed was a Welsh Cog. And they used 4 of these in a team, along with a carriage, to use in carriage dressage. Now they wanted a particular likeness of one of the horses, so that's what this video is all about. So here is the horse in question, a very handsome Welsh Cog. Horses are very nervous of strangers, and so trying to measure the head proportions was a challenge. So I gave the tape measure to the owner of the horse and let her measure the head. I would make the central core out of polystyrene, although nowadays I would probably use PU foam. The polystyrene would be slightly smaller in size to allow for a covering of plaster afterwards. This would then be covered with scrim, which is like a plasterer's gauze. This would then be covered with plaster, and the scrim helps it key all together. For the horse's mane, I used polystyrene foam applied from a gun, and then again covered in plasterer's scrim. Now you can see here cocktail sticks sticking out from around the model. The reason for this is that I would know where the joints of the polystyrene were, and it would be easier for me just to cut through the plaster and the scrim, and the whole thing would come apart. The reason I wanted it to come apart will be evident later. Before I went any further with the process, I went to show the model to the client again, just to make sure they were satisfied with what they were getting. Now you see me using an old saw and cutting through where the cocktail sticks were. And the reason I'm cutting the maquette up into sections is because I would use a copying device. Now I decided, rather than making a small maquette and showing the client, being a horse's head, I could actually make it the full size, and using polystyrene and plaster, and take this to the client, and when they were happy I could bring it back and then start carving it out of wood. If you carve from wood, you need to transfer the measurements from the maquette you have made, in my case plaster, to the wood. Now another process of doing this is to use a copying machine, which I had already, and I used this. But the size of the horse's head wouldn't fit into the copying machine, so I had to cut the maquette up into pieces, and this is why you see me now sawing it and this is why the cocktail sticks were put in around, so that I could cut it all apart, and then the smaller sections could be put on the copying machine, and then it would all be glued back together to make the full-size horse's head in wood, and then I could finish it off with carving tools. The timber that I used for the horse's head was lime wood, and this is not to be confused with the citrus lime. That is a completely different tree. The lime wood is from the linden tree. The linden tree is the very old name for lime tree. The carving machine works on a pantograph principle. Here you see a pantograph, and the blue square is the original, and the square on the left is being drawn with the pencil. It's the same principle when you go to take your front door key to be copied. And all the holes you see here are called indexing, and they are all of a specific depth. Once I've got down to the bottom of the hole that's been drilled, I know that I don't need to go any deeper, and then I will finish off with wood carving tools. You see now I've hollowed out both sides of the main head of the horse. This is just convenience for me, so that the seams, when they are glued together, will be virtually invisible. Here you see the first section of the neck attached to the head. All the sections are now being clamped together with glue and two hefty sash clamps to make sure all the joints are tight. Now that the glue has gone off, I can continue with conventional carving tools. Lime wood is very easy to carve. In fact, it's very difficult to split. That's why carvers prefer it more than anything else. For the finish of the horse's heads, I didn't use any sandpaper. I just finished off with the carving chisel marks, which is what I prefer, and the client preferred it as well. So here you see them in place, fixed in a conservatory. This was inside the customer's property. Well, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this insight into carving a horse's head. And it's the same principle whatever you apply sculpture to. So thank you for watching. So that's it for now. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please subscribe and also give it a like, and I'll see you next time.